thank everyone for coming this morning. We had a great turnout. I apologize for the inclement weather, but I assure you it's just passing by. And hopefully by the end of this, we're going to be out of the rain and into some nice sunny weather. But in the meantime, I want to thank you all for coming. We're breaking ground today for the overhaul of Route 146, which is really the poster child for congestion and poor road surface in the state of Rhode Island. Travelers from Providence to Woonsocket or through the state to Massachusetts are going to be breathing a sigh of relief today as we start to transform this corridor into a safe, smooth roadway. This groundbreaking also officially kicks off the 2022 construction season, which is going to be a real whopper this year. With the infusion of, thanks to our wonderful congressional delegation, with the infusion of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that came last November, we've been able to accelerate 100 projects in our 10-year plan, and this season there will be $1.8 billion worth of construction being conducted here and throughout Rhode Island in investments in new infrastructure and new transportation systems. The governor has asked us, with this new infusion of money, to make paving our highways a priority, one of the top priorities. And it's one of the reasons that we chose this particular project to hold a kickoff this year, 146. This year, we're going to be investing throughout the state $92 million in new road surfaces and paving. All of those potholes that you all hear about, report about during the winter, we're going to begin to fix them permanently. Over the next 5 years, we'll be investing, or the governor has asked us to invest more than $400 million over the next 5 years in paving. Before I tell you about this project, I really want to acknowledge and thank some of the people here today. Governor McKee, during the last 2 years, has really become a champion for the work that we do at DOT in improving our infrastructure and creating the jobs that come with it. And I certainly thank him for putting his shoulder into getting us the state share of funding that we need in order to do the work we do with the federal funds that we get. Senator Reid, Senator Whitehouse, Congressman Cicilline, and although he's not here today, Congressman Benjamin, our congressional delegation is lifting way above their weight class. They have put their shoulder into infrastructure funding here in the state of Rhode Island in an unprecedented way. Not only in their sponsorship of legislation and their leadership in the creation of things like the Infra Grant program and other federal funding programs. But also, over and above that, there's a whole world of competitive grants like this project that's funded by not only the normal and customary federal and state funds, but a competitive grant that was awarded through the state because of the activism of our congressional delegation for $65 million, one of the biggest grants we ever got for highway construction. And that comes with a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I couldn't be more pleased with working with this congressional delegation. Fellow Highway Administrator, Carlos Machado, you know, when states and federal agencies need to work together to get a lot of projects done, it could be chaos and conflict. But I have enjoyed during the last 7 years the best relationship and a true partnership with our federal partners in the Federal Highway Administration, who have been working with us here in the state to make sure that things are built right, are built according to their federal regulatory structure, and there are tight controls both on finance and the final product. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner than Administrator Machado during the last several years. Union President Mike Sabatoni. These projects don't get built. Everybody puts their back into getting the funding for this, but the membership of the Rhode Island Building Trades and the membership of the Laborers International Union of North America actually put their backs to work making this kind of project happen. And I couldn't be more pleased with the association and the partnership that we have with labor through all of the projects that we're doing. Senator Dela Cruz and Rep. Newberry. Well, you've been asking for this for a long time, and you have been champions and advocates in your local districts to get 146 fixed, and we're doing it. And we thank you for your endorsement of the project here today, and for putting your shoulder into providing us with through the legislature, the necessary state funding we need. That's so vital to get projects like this done. We're so pleased that you're here today to join us, because we know that you've been great champions locally for this project. I also want to take a moment now to introduce the team that we selected to actually build this project. The contracting team of Skanska and Lynch. Through the RFP process, it was a very complicated process. It was a 9-month-long process where we had a staff of 9 people reviewing various proposals for the alternative design and build proposals that these companies, that the competitors for this project submitted. I will say that it was a complicated and challenging kind of proposal process because of the numerous issues that exist: safety issues, traffic issues, structural efficiency issues along this entire corridor. But the Skanska Lynch team provided us both an innovative and imaginative solutions to all of these problems, and they did it in a way, and they put a proposal together that will accomplish this and get it done sooner than we had originally anticipated doing. Here with us today is Paul Pentini, their Senior Vice President of Skanska, Bob Pine, Vice President of Operations, Stephen Del Grasso, Project Executive, and from the J.H. Lynch Company, we have Steve Lynch, President, David Lynch, Vice President, and Greg Lynch, Vice President. They now, along with the partners we have at the state and local level, and federal level up here in front of you, they will become our partners on this job. And we very much look forward and excited to seeing them bring to life the design, imaginative design that they have proposed to present to us. As an engineer, I always want to cover some of the technical issues and details about the project with you. On this corridor, 146, we've had 85 crashes every year. Many of them centered around this area that we're in right now. The Sales Hill Road and 146 intersection has been a perennial dangerous safety issue for this roadway. We're going to fix that. This project is going to fix that intersection. We're going to build a flyover at this intersection that will safely carry 146 traffic over the Sales Hill Road intersection. It will eliminate many, if not all, of those crashes that take place here every year. It will also eliminate the traffic signal that exists here and provide a safe and easy access to all of the businesses. In fact, The proposal that the Skanska-Lynch team presented presents a design that will leave this intersection operable so that the adjacent businesses like the Nissan dealership here and the other businesses here will still have complete access for their clients and customers without interruption while a brand new overpass is going to be built. A very imaginative solution to a tough problem. The team did it. We're looking forward to that. The corridor itself has 171,000 vehicles traveling on this road every day. And paving is a priority. I know. I got a lot of the calls. Some of them on the Thursday mornings that I go out and talk to the public on. And many of them came from people on this corridor, the potholes, the rough shape of the road. Well, you're going to begin to see the improvements to that through the urging of the governor. He wanted us to upfront and do paving improvements along this corridor as an initial stage to this project. And we're going to be very happy and pleased, and I'm sure the residents in the northwest and northeast part of our state are going to be pleased with the improvements they see in pavement in this area. Our contractors also came up with an innovative way to rebuild the interchange on 146 and 146A that'll remove a dangerous U-turn that existed for decades and replace it with a diverging diamond interchange, a new kind of innovative solution to routing traffic in a safe, measured way, in a very efficient way. Transit riders. This isn't just a highway project, but we have begun to develop new ways to look at our highway transportation system to see if we can rebuild them in a way that also affords a better transit system here in Rhode Island. And one of the first transit-only lanes will be built and part of this project that will get buses between Providence and North Providence in a much more efficient way. So many of the people that are tied up in their cars in a traffic jam every day will see the movement of transit happening very rapidly as they sit in traffic, go by them, and hopefully will encourage some of them to begin to think of transit as an alternative to using their vehicles. And we're excited about that. It's a new kind of direction for us at DOT, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it. And hopefully that will not only improve and increase the ridership in our transit, but also begin to have a very positive effect on climate change and carbon emissions here in the state as people make a switch over from one mode to the other. In fact, the congestion that happens here at this intersection every day will be eliminated. And the efficiencies that we're introducing between that and the transit corridor that we're creating should reduce about 6,000 tons a year of carbon emissions into our, so environmentally, the project is going to have a very positive effect. Those are just some of the highlights, and I'm going to leave some more of the details and certainly the contributions that each of the speakers that follow me will make to you. It's a massive project, but making it a reality takes the leadership at the top of our state by the governor to provide us with the vital state match to the federal grants that we get. And the governor's really put his shoulder this year into getting us the additional money and budget for these transportation projects this year that will put, as I said, $1.8 billion, an unprecedented investment in our infrastructure here in the state. And I couldn't be more pleased than to introduce the governor of the state of Rhode Island.
Thank you, Peter. And big day for our Department of Transportation, and your leadership has brought us to this point. So thank you for that, but we don't get there without our delegation, Senator Reid, White House, David Cicilline, as well as Congressman Langevin, and I do continue to thank them for their leadership, not only over the course of time that they represented us in Washington, but in particular over the last couple of years during the pandemic. And this is part of our recovery. This is part of our recovery. Investing in our infrastructure is investing in our economy. And this project here starts with a $196 million project along 146, using funding secured by the congressional delegation and the Department of Transportation. And I also would say, Peter, you're right. Matching the federal grants is a key to actually getting the money. And I, as a mayor, and I think Phil Gould is here, and I think maybe other administrators, we know that if we store up funds locally, we can access federal grants. So in our budget this year, and surpluses are good, and we've managed a surplus, probably the largest surplus that the state has ever seen, at least in my lifetime, and $100 million we've allocated in the surplus to access over $400 million of federal transportation money that's going to help us accomplish the goals that Peter and the Department of Transportation has set out. So I know I travel 146. I live in Compass. I travel 146, and Northern Rhode Island is part of the state of Rhode Island, and we got to make sure that we connect all of our Rhode Island communities, but it also connecting into the broader network that we know that our economy is going to grow from Providence to Worcester, up to Boston as well, with the train station that Peter is working on in Center Falls and Pawtucket. So I travel it every day. As Peter said, we know it's congested. I've experienced that personally. I'm looking forward to the improvements here. We do have small businesses on this road, Peter, so we've got to make sure that we accommodate our small businesses to the largest degree that we can. But also, I would say the business community and small businesses here that are going to end up benefiting from here, it's going to be worth the patience to get this work done. So the Rhode Island Department of Transportation Roadworks program is now in the 7th year. And I'm catching up to the pace, but I think we caught up very quickly since I've been governor, and know how important this is. 230 projects like this, including work on more than 350 bridges. That work they've done is valued at $3.1 billion. For us to be a state that is considered a small business and business-friendly state, we know that infrastructure is one of those components. And we work every day right now to make sure that we are meeting the standards of those rankings and addressing the issues that we need to address so that Rhode Island is recognized for its efforts in the infrastructure, and then the benefit is the economy and the small business friendliness and the business friendliness. Roadworks creates jobs, and thank you, Mike, for your leadership and for the entire team of the labor that is doing the work here. Certainly I see David Lynch back there. I know David pretty well, and he's going to do a great job, right, David, on this project, on time and budget. And we know it's good for economic development here. Again, I'd like to thank our partners in the federal delegation who helped secure a $65 million federal grant to allow DOT to address this project. And it's my pleasure, as one of the leading, as a senior senator, come on up, Jack. Thank you so much. And again, one last time, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your entire congressional delegation.
Well, thank you, Governor McKee, for your leadership. I really appreciate it, moving these projects forward. Let me also obviously recognize my colleagues in the delegation. This has been a joint effort. So the White House, Congressman Cicilline, Congressman Langevin. Although I must say that we owe a special bit of praise to Charles White House because he actually designed the program, which you'll like about. So thank you. Thank you, Senator Sandy. Thanks, Mike, for putting all these people to work. It's good for Rhode Island, good for everybody. And Justin Kelly of the Painters Union, thank you. I also want to recognize the local leaders that a project like this can't happen without them. Senator De La Cruz, Representative Blueberry, and Town Administrator Phil Jules and Lincoln. So thank you all. Carlos Machado, he's a busy fellow right now. Everything is coming out highways all across New England, so thank you, Carlos, for what you do. Last but certainly not least is Director Alvitti. I will not tell all the stories about taking my milk at the South High School during lunch period. I'll refrain from that. Peter has done an amazing job. He should get superb credit for getting all these resources and then deploying them efficiently. And if you've been, like I have, out watching the progress of these efforts, they're amazing. He's recruited a skilled group of young workers, young professionals, and they're going to carry on. So thank you, Peter, for that. Now, those of us who are old enough to remember know that in 1960, Route 146 was designated the Eddie Dowling Highway. Of course, we all know who Eddie Dowling is. Okay. Eddie Dowling was a world-famous entertainer in Georgia. In the 1960s, one of those prominent Rhode Islanders in the nation. A lot has changed since then. One thing that changed is that there are now 171,000 vehicles a day going up and down this road. It was not built for that kind of traffic. And we're literally rebuilding it, and as Peter described it, and as the governor described it, it's not just going to be repaving, it's going to be safer. Businesses will have better access to their customers and vice versa. Fiber optic cable will be laid. So we're going to make this a road that is modern and will make any dollar proud. So I'm pleased about that. We've got a lot to do. And the infra grant rather, of $65 million was helpful. The additional funding was helpful. But we're so pleased and proud because this means more efficient economic activity. It means jobs for thousands of Rhode Island workers. And it means for the next 30 years, this is going to be a state of the art for Ohio. So thank you very much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague in the White House who really was the spearhead behind it. So,
thank you, Jack. This is a very happy day for all of us, and I'm delighted to be sharing it with Governor McKee and Director Alvitti, who have spearheaded this work at the state level, and to be joined by our senior Senator, Jack Reed, and David Cicilline, who all pulled together to make sure that we got the funding for all of this. We're delighted always to be joined by Carlos Machado, because pretty much every time we see him, there's a very big check involved, above and beyond a very big smile. I too want to recognize Senator Dela Cruz, thank her for being here, and Representative Newberry also for being here. I think he probably drives this road more than anybody, so we're delighted to be able to do this. Bill Gould, the Lincoln Town Administrator. I want to recognize Anchor Subaru for their hospitality, Bob Benoit. Thank you very, very much. And then our labor community led by Michael Sabatoni through the building trades, but also Justin Kelly and Scott Duhamel are also here representing the folks who are going to be doing the work and bringing home the payroll. And I'm delighted to have had this chance. When I created the infra project, obviously my hope was that grants would come through it home to Rhode Island. And the first one that came through, the biggest then in Rhode Island history, was for the Providence Viaduct. If you like the improvements in the Providence Viaduct, good, because we put a lot of work into getting that done. Then this came through as the new biggest Rhode Island transportation grant in state history. And as Jack said, it's going to make a very big difference. This road is obsolete, it is unsafe, it is inefficient, and it discourages people coming down to visit Providence because they don't want to make the drive. So there's a lot to be proud of in terms of the work that's going to get done here. So I don't need to say very much more other than that getting rid of the Sales Hill intersection is going to be good for people's safety, morale, temperament. If they're not having a wreck here, they're having backlogs here with traffic. So this is going to be a big improvement. And the bipartisan infrastructure bill puts $8 billion more dollars into the infra program. So Peter, Governor, you've got a lot more to shoot for. You've got a congressional delegation that will have your back, led by Senator Reid, to make sure that the funding comes through. And I'm just very, very happy to be here on this occasion. And let me, I think, my turn to invite David Cicilline here, who knows something about transit to Providence, the former mayor there. David, over to you.
Good morning. I am delighted to be here. Thank you, Director Alvitti, for bringing us together, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership. And always a great pleasure to be with my two senators, Senator Reid and Senator Whitehouse. And I'm also here on behalf of my senior colleague, Congressman Langevin. Mr. Machado, it's great to see you, and thank you again for coming with a lot of money. And I want to recognize, of course, Mike Sabatoni. I know Scotty Duhamel is here, and also Justin Kelly, other great union leaders. Thank you for being here, and the men and women of the building trades. And thank you to Senator De La Cruz and Representative Newberry for your advocacy for this project. And we're here today not only to break ground for this really important reconstruction project of 146, but as been mentioned, to kick off the 2022 transportation construction season. And I think it's fair to say this construction season is going to be different than all of the others that preceded it. And that's in large part because there had been a lot of talk for many years about infrastructure week and a lot of talk about infrastructure, but we didn't really address the significant underinvestment in infrastructure in this country and in our state. Frankly, until the election of President Biden, who made infrastructure a real commitment and led the effort to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which brings $2.5 billion of investment to the state of Rhode Island over the next 5 years, and will allow us to enhance clean energy, invest in our roads, our bridges, our airports, our ports, and really create thousands of good-paying union jobs, but also help Rhode Island rebuild its infrastructure. And it's a really historic investment in infrastructure, and thanks to, as the director said, this infusion of federal funding, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation has been able to accelerate 100 projects in its 10-year plan, and will invest, as has been mentioned, $1.8 billion in our state's infrastructure this year alone. So this is extraordinary. It's going to allow real progress to be made on 60 infrastructure projects in 2022 alone, and 146 is obviously one of the biggest ones. I want to just take a moment to acknowledge, obviously, the leadership of Senator Reid as our senior member and a member of the Appropriations Committee, but in particular Senator Whitehouse, who crafted the infra grant with an understanding, and as a former mayor, this is always a challenge. I know the governor will know this. There are these major infrastructure projects that require a really serious federal investment that are hard to do for the state and local government to cobble together the resources, but they have real significance to the economic life and the vitality of those places. And Senator Whitehouse wrote the legislation for the infra grant, which provided the biotech funding and this funding, so I think he deserves another big round of applause. And I'm proud to say that Congressman Linder and I, on the House side, do all that we can to make sure that these fundings come through. But this is a lot to celebrate. It's going to make a real difference in the quality of life of Rhode Islanders. It's going to make a real difference in Rhode Island continuing to be an attraction for tourists and visitors from around the region, around the country. And so I want to end by saying thank you to all the men and women who are going to do this incredible work and do it well and make us extraordinarily proud. And with that, I will now introduce Carlos Machado, who is the regional administrator and a great friend to Rhode Island, and welcome back.
Thank you, Director Alvitti, Governor McKee, and the congressional delegation. It's incredible. I'm working for federal highways now for 22 years. And I never saw something like what's going on right now on the infrastructure. We really have the best congressional delegation in Washington. But I don't know. These men here, they've been a miracle. Believe me, in Rhode Island, we never had so much investment on the infrastructure since the construction of the highway system. Can you imagine that? Just to let you know, we are managing now about 5 major projects. And just these 5 major projects, we have $1.1 billion. And since the beginning of the roadworks program, that's a beautiful design plan, we already built more than rebuilt and built more than 300 bridges. Can you imagine that? 300 bridges. Our inventory of the bridges in Rhode Island, it's about 850 bridges. Can you imagine? I joke with Alvitti all the time that we have changed the color of the state. When you drive in the freeways now and the highways, you don't see green bridges anymore. Now it's a blue bridge. Right? And that great man is responsible for that. You know, it's a great partnership between federal highways and RIDOT. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with this new bill that basically give you the funds for the next 5 years. We will really invest a lot. Just to, people don't imagine the size of this bill. We have now, and you need to find office bills like the Federal White House mentioned, 350 new programs. And it's not just for the states, for the municipalities, for the tribes, and for the local entities. And that will keep us really good for the next 5 years. I'm planning to double the number of staff that I have in Rhode Island, just to handle this new bill. And I'm glad to be here at this time. And I would like to introduce our other partner, Michael Santoni, that is the president of the Rhode Island Building Construction Trades.
Good morning. I'll echo some of the comments that I've heard already. I also get excited when I see Carlos, the governor, Senator Reid, Senator Whitehouse, Congressman Cicilline, missing Congressman Langevin, but the team that you have assembled here today, the Director Alvitti. These are exciting times, and all Rhode Islanders should be excited about what we're here announcing today. Because this isn't just a jobs issue, this is a quality of life issue for all of Rhode Islanders. This is a business competitive issue. I see my good friend from the Northern Chamber, Liz Catucci, here as well. The small businesses that are up and down this corridor, this is a business issue. It's also a construction business issue. You couldn't have assembled a better team than Lynch and Skankster. I've known Stephen and David Lynch my whole construction career. They're one of our largest employers in the state of Rhode Island. And I've worked with Bob Pine and his team at Skankster for over 20 years, constructing and reconstructing some of the most critical pieces of infrastructure in the state of Rhode Island. And this will be magnificent when it's done. And people will want to come through this corridor to visit the state of Rhode Island. And it will put, which we already have, thousands across this state, tradesmen and women that are continuing to modernize our infrastructure because of the effort of the leaders that we have, and we're so fortunate to have the political leaders that we have in this state. You know, not just coming to events like this. I speak daily with the governor. I speak regularly with our congressional delegation. What else can we do? What are the other needs that we have? How do we continue to put men and women to work in the construction industry to make a better quality of life of all Rhode Islanders and create jobs, good paying union jobs at the same time? And then working with Peter at the Department of Transportation to recruit and train the next generation of tradesmen and women. That's why all Rhode Islanders should be excited about what we're announcing today. And then working with my colleagues in the House and the Senate, Representative Newberry and Senator De La Cruz. This is not a blue or red issue. Infrastructure has always been, historically, a bipartisan issue. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here today. And to close, as a tradesman, I will say, the road to success and prosperity is always under construction. So remember that. Thank you.
Well, this is an event this year, I think that really is a highlight for us at DOT. And all of the people here have really worked as a team. This is what government, I think, was meant to be. Everywhere from the local level, at the state administration level, at the federal level, all working together to make good things happen. And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't take one more recognition that all of the work that you see throughout this state, the $1.8 billion, the investment that came in from Washington, actually making its way into the ground in terms of jobs, new roads, new bridges, is really to the credit of, I am blessed to have the team at DOT that I have. The group of professionals that I work with at DOT were responsible for making the applications for the grants, to taking the money when it became available early this year, and immediately going to work to make sure that that money got very quickly transformed into the concrete and steel and jobs that you're going to be seeing this summer. I don't think there's any DOT in the country that is ahead of the curve as much as our people in DOT is in getting and putting that money to work and benefiting Rhode Islanders quickly and efficiently as we have. And they're doing it with over 95% of our projects being on time and on budget. And I couldn't be more pleased as director to have a team like this working with me to make this happen. So, enough words. Let's get a shovel in the ground and get this job, get this project.
Can we do questions?
Let's do the shovels first, then we'll do the questions.
I guess.
Folks, we'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to do the official shovel, metaphorically as well as physically. And then we've got a few questions. Thank you.